hinting of, I am not smart. Well, a lot had seemed to happen over the past 3 weeks. Please remember I have gone dark completely. I'm acting like nothing has happened. I don't know anything really, and I've certainly not argued once. I've listened. I've talked. Nothing is too much hassle. I have actually changed as a person in a good way. I've made a few personal life changes with me also going forward and cut out some bad habits that I was in a routine of doing, and I feel a lot better for it. She has seen a change in me, but I've not done the 180, and it isn't for her. It's for me. I'm trying to be a better person and the person I should be without sounding cheesy. She knows to a certain extent I know things, but doesn't know exactly what or how I know. I think she thinks I'm just guessing maybe. At this current point in time I am in 2 places. Willing to play this out and go down 2 paths. 1. Be a proper couple and family and do things right. 2. Walk away if need be, already preparing myself for this. But I'm also giving her one very last chance before I do. I don't think it's going to be a matter of if but when. I have a plan ready for that option. I've seen a lawyer and found out I have just as much rights as her in our country. And I can stop her moving wee one to another city, etc. So I'm not worried anymore about wee one so much now and don't feel like she has me completely screwed, if that option plays out. I don't know if wee one will end up with me short term, but long term, yes. You will think I'm crazy for even staying now. I'm in a million times better place than I was when I came on here and even 3 weeks ago. I've laid everything out as clear as day that this is the last chance and it's her choice now. Whether that makes her sneakier or what, who knows. Things have happened which I'll write below, but I'll know sooner rather than later if she messes up. Anyway, story continues from me texting her at the beginning of the month on the burner where she is thinking I was someone else, wanting to get a hotel for some fun. The story of that, as far as I'm meant to know, is still that she had an argument with the person due to him trying it on with her. However, truth is I think she went up and embarrassed him while he had another girl around him or while he was working. He seems to take that serious, and because she thought it was him, she was texting. He thinks she's nuts and was quite rude to her over something else I found out. Basically, they embarrassed him big style and made him look like an idiot. He told her to never ever talk to him again by any means. He actually did an amazing job with it. I didn't mean to cause it, but at the same time it's hilarious because I stopped her sleeping with him that night. I'm still angry about the texting though. I've not said a word. I haven't texted anymore. I've left it completely. It's still there for future use, but I don't trust her 1 inch if she is going on a night out in her hometown. This guy was okay. From earlier in this thread, I was talking to him via text. I later found out she had lied to him as well as probably every other person she has spoken to. Facebook, relationship status is still hidden, but I've been tagged a lot in photos, so whoever clicks on me will probably work it out. Pilot deleted his last month but tried to come back and add her, but she hasn't accepted. She also deleted guy above. Anyway, I know she was still texting the pilot up until around the 7th of September. He was out on the Friday night and trying to get her to go through and meet him for a works night out. She openly said he was texting her. She said that there were lots of people from work out and they were all on at her to get her to go through. I of course said I'm happy for her to go. In fact, I'll come with you and I'll drive. She didn't want to go lol. I got access to her phone and seen the full conversation where I found out it was only him and 2 other people out and him only texting her. She was telling him she was out in her hometown with her girls staying at a hotel when she was actually home with me. The number of lies is unreal and I don't quite understand where it comes from or why she was lying. If it was some way to end it or keep flirt chat going, who knows. Anyway, he was trying to get her to go to his hotel and she was making excuses, to which point he said, "You are full of your own words. Next time you see me, act professional and forget everything that has happened." Whatever that means. I might actually have deleted that text so she knows nothing of it. But I'm not sure what is going on now. We were out the next night and she was still texting him in the morning. However, at one point a text came through while I was on her phone speaking to one of her family, and the text said, "I'm not interested." Now I don't know if they have been in touch since. There have been a few occasions where I've thought she has been texting him, but I don't know, even tonight. But it could be a friend or family. We were out that night and had a few drinks with a bunch of friends. I very rarely drink these days, but was in a bar and she went up to order drinks and started getting chatted up by a guy. I didn't let it bother me, but when she eventually returned, she tried to say I was staring at him and I had issues, etc., of which I wasn't, and all our friends told her she was imagining it. I might have gone up to the bar myself about half an hour later to get drinks and bumped into 2 of my female friends separately, and each time she was over and a shot hands around me, etc. Like, this is my guy, back off. Anyway, we ended up in a club and asked me to dance with her, so I did. About a minute later she stormed off for whatever reason, saying guys were bothering her, but it was just me and her. She then sat talking to guy in our group while looking like she was in a mood with me for no reason. Alcohol. So I just left her to it. I wandered off to the next room and chilled for a bit. Before I knew it, I was surrounded by girls, and one really quite good-looking blonde actually started speaking to me about why I was out tonight, and I said, "Look, I have a fiance and not interested, have a good night." Next thing, fiance storms over. Had been watching, stalking from afar, and started shouting at me saying I was chatting up girls, etc. It was all quite funny. She wants to talk to guys and try and make me jealous, but wants me to be hers only and not say a word to anyone. Well, I think she got a wake-up call from that night anyway. We had a bit of a talk when we got home, which she tried to argue with me. I didn't argue at all. Afterwards, I just said I know everything, and I did make a mistake of saying I know she has been having an emotional or affair with him, but it's her choice. Of course, she came back saying she loves me, always me. The only thing I have dreamed of for years is to be your wife. She has been as good as gold on paper. Not putting a foot wrong at all, but I know not to believe anything I see. I now have access to phone records too. Last night she went through her phone in front of me, not that I was looking, but she deleted a lot of conversations between her and people she has been talking to. I don't know if they were from weeks ago and she is only just getting rid of them now. But I know the name she has against the pilot and know she has deleted the last convo, so if I see any more I know they are still talking. However, she is off on a couple of night stops this month coming, about 5 or 6 before the month is out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from them. He is bound to be on one of them. In no way am I planning on staying with her and conforming to this life of no trust, no respect, no real love, mind games and being cheated on. She does have an amazing guy in me. I'm actually a league, if not probably 2 above her. I know I've made a mistake by not walking out the night I confronted her the second time when she did the backsliding. Still learning what all these terms are, but I was in a place I'd never been before. I didn't actually know what I was doing at the time. I know now, like she was my toy and I might not have been playing with it, but I didn't want anyone else to, and somehow ending up begging her to make it work. Like, what the hell? I thought giving you an update of what has been going on so far would have been quite interesting, but maybe it has had the wrong outcome completely. I have no intention of staying and making this work. I think I know where I've gone wrong in past posts. I said I had 2 options. At this current point in time I am in 2 places, willing to play this out and go down 2 paths. 1. Be a proper couple and family and do things right. 2. Walk away if need be, already preparing myself for this. But I'm also giving her one very last chance before I do. I don't think it's going to be a matter of if but when. Have a plan ready for that option. I'd like option 1 with my heart, but my head is telling me exactly what is, and I'm just sitting back and watching it all play out. I always listen to my head, the one on my shoulders, for everyone who might have thought otherwise. She is doing the being a good girl routine, and I know it's only a matter of time before she messes up completely. I'd obviously like her not to, but at the same time I really hope she does. I have no doubt she is going to. I think she will a lot sooner than later too. I'm doing a few things behind the scenes at the moment which I can't really say much about on here. It involves finances and house we are in, etc. I'm completely protected by the law too. I'm going to force her hand with a few things. I know I should just walk away right now, but I want her to really screw up badly and totally catch her at it and make it clear as daylight it's over and never ever getting back together. I'm just in a waiting game, and in the meantime I keep going on as usual, being the best dad I can be right now. There's nowhere else I need to be apart from work and daughter at the moment, so it's not bothering me just now. I'll have my own separate life back soon enough. I get people are saying, why play this game? Well, she is playing his game with me as well. I will come out on top. I have gone dark. She knows nothing of what I know, nothing about how I truly feel, and nothing of what I have planned at all. I'll share more in time. What should I do when she is on a night stop for work? I don't trust her. In the back of my mind, it's going to be happening whether it really is or not. Whether I'm with her, it will be on my mind if it is or not. For me, it stopped the mind movies time and focus on the future. Without her, and her friend or friends are poisonous and do egg her on. I've seen the proof. I didn't deserve being cheated on. She should have ended it long before she ever thought about doing that. So, she deserves what's coming. To be honest, OP talks a lot, but he is most likely going back with the wife. This is what you don't do. Staying with a person that has no remorse. Story 2. I'm pregnant and think he's cheating. I'm 24 and have been married to my husband for 4 years. We have 1 daughter and another on the way. I'm 8 months along now. I have suspected my husband of cheating once before. A year after we were married, he began to exhibit different behavior. She is a family friend of my husband's. I began noticing he was paying more attention to her at parties and would find ways to be by themselves. On one occasion, he and her boyfriend were joking around about an attractive woman they met. They were in business together that day, and right after my husband said something, she stormed off. My H waited a minute and said, "Let me go be peacemaker, don't want to piss off your woman," pointing to the boyfriend, and went off to talk to her while she sulked in a corner. I confronted her about this and she said she was just upset in general and said it was because her boyfriend was contributing to the conversation. I reminded her she left after my husband said something and she just said, well, he wasn't helping. At the time, I was so hormonal and pregnant. I wrote off my worries as being paranoid because of my condition. Then a week later, I noticed each time we would drive by her house, he'd stare to see if she was there or whose car was in the driveway. I found that odd, as he's never done that, or maybe I just hadn't been paying attention. I was double-guessing myself. Finally, I had enough and confronted him. He said that I was crazy. He'd never cheat and I was acting that way because of my pregnancy. He said he felt that she might like him and felt bad for her because she was dating a jerk, but that was it. I tried snooping but found no hard evidence. His cell phone was clean, as well as his email. However, he had a work phone through his father that I was never able to investigate. And that goes for his work email as well. This was a tough time, because I thought I was just acting hysterical. He works out in the field and wouldn't answer my phone calls. Another aspect that could be written off as me just being paranoid. I mean, he did have to talk to his customers and is always busy or driving. Later, about 2 months after the baby was born, I noticed he didn't want to hang out with this couple at all, but oddly enough at a party or gatherings, he would talk to him, not her. I asked him, why don't we hang out with John and Jane Doe anymore? My husband had just gone into business for himself and blamed it on this. Dude's jealous, he said. I asked if he had any problems with Jane and said, I don't know, it's whatever. However, when we saw them again, he'd talk to him but not her. She'd be off in a corner somewhere and be away from where we were. On one occasion I asked her why she not just came over and say hello. She said, we don't see you anymore. Thought you were mad, being a new mom. I was tired and probably got lazy with this and assumed it was all in my head, to this day. My H will talk to John but never to Jane. My laziness and not wanting to be the nagging new wife that is acting crazy because she just had a baby led me to just believe him, other than what I mentioned above. I couldn't pin anything on him. Now, currently, I'm suspicious again. And yet again, it's a family friend. This time though, it's his cousin's girlfriend. They have 2 children together. For the past year and a half, we've been tied at the hip with this couple. Fly to Vegas. Let's go. Skiing in Big Bear. Sure. Clubbing in Leh. Let me get my shoes. Oh wait, do we have a sitter? Everything has been great, and we get on so well. 2 months ago, I've noticed small differences. He's made excuses to go to her place of work. She's a property manager for an apartment complex and the boyfriend lives there. So I didn't think anything of it. One day he said he was going to return something to him. Well, call him John too. And I said sure. See you when you get back. Coincidentally, the next day I run into John too at the post office and say something like, did my husband pull a drive-by yesterday? In reference to him just running and dropping something off. It was a joke, because it's kind of awkward when you run into the male of the couple you've been hanging out with. He looked at me strangely and just said, huh. Long story short, he had no idea that he went to their place, her work, because he wasn't there. Asked the husband this and said he didn't think it was a big deal to tell me. He's now taking odd ways home, like he's trying to drive by their place. Work on purpose. He calls her to ask her things about property management that I would think he would already know the answer to. But he says he doesn't. If his cousin, John too, takes her to a nice restaurant and she posts it on Facebook, he comments about his cousin in a negative way. It's like he uses any excuse to bring them up. Did you hear they're going partying tonight? He drinks too much. I don't know why she stays with him. And she's been laughing with him much more and staying in his general vicinity at gatherings. It's like she's more connected to him than her own boyfriend. Am I going crazy? Is this the pregnancy? Are my concerns valid, and if they are, what do I start doing? And sorry for the long post. The cell phones are under his name and I don't have the password to the account. I think I might be able to see if I can have the password text, but I think it may go to his phone. He is gone right now and won't be home until after 8:30. I have a close friend who has a kid in the Pee Wee League and she just texted me that she saw my husband walking around with a woman away from his team. She doesn't think it's a mom of one of the kids because she doesn't recognize her. Although he could be a new kid. I'm waiting for her to text me a pic of the girl if she can get close. VAR is tough to get. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and we've been living beyond our means for a few years now. And now we're living with his mom, renting a room from her. We're still living beyond our means here. I'll check into it though. Then I'll have to figure out how to get into his work truck and not be too clumsy with this big belly. And yes, he does have a work phone and an email. He doesn't use a laptop, just his work phone with the email easily accessible on there. I've seen that he's put a 4-digit lock on it though. My friend just called me. She wasn't able to get close enough to get a pic because she had to get back to her son's side of the field. about 3 football fields away. She described her though, and it sounds a lot like his cousin's girlfriend. I'm glad I gave my friend heads up about this. Hopefully she'll be able to check out what he's doing there. I can't tell him that I know he was walking around with a woman. So I'll just ask him how practice went. I guess they let the kids cut out a little early. So husband should be here 10 minutes early. He said that he went to have happy hour with one of the coaches. Unfortunately for me, it's an old crabby coach that doesn't have a wife I can verify this with. And in my condition, I have not been to any football practices since last year. Maybe I'll mention going with him to practice, just to see how he reacts. I think I'll tell him I'll pick him up a little early from practice so him and I can go get appetizers together. I did phone him while he was out. He did not answer. He said he did not get a missed call, probably cause they were in a bad area of the restaurant. Interesting revelation today. As I said, we live with his mom because we've overextended ourselves on our bills, so we're trying to get rid of debt. His cousin and daughter came over and I go out to say hi to them. Their daughter made it sound like she's seen my husband in the last day or two, her father. Husband's cousin was not around to hear this. As they were leaving, I told him, my husband is going to miss you. Too bad you stopped by when he wasn't here. How long has it been since you last saw each other? A whole week. He said yeah, maybe a little longer. I just remembered the cell phone bill also arrives at the house. He was going to have it only emailed, but he forgot. Should I confront tonight or wait to get the records? Weird thing is his mom checks the mail and makes it a point to keep the mail in her room until my husband gets home. She only gives him our mail. I never get it. I'm going to be sick. Called his cousin and she's not at home. She's supposed at school right now. I told him it was an emergency and one of my family members was getting evicted and I needed her advice. He tried to call her and text and he just called me back saying she didn't respond. Do I sit here and wait? What do I do if they walk out together? I drove by. It's her car. I'm waiting on the other side of the parking lot hoping they leave together in the next 5 minutes. How do I deal with this? I'm calling a friend to see if I can stay with her. He walked out with her and kissed her goodbye. I stood outside the car thinking they would drive by me, but he was closer to the other exit. She was closer to my exit but followed him. I got video. It's far and shaky but I got something at least. I'm calling him and he's sending me to voicemail. I don't know who this man is. He just texted me that he ran into an old friend and they are going to catch up at his house. He's going to text me on the way home. He asked if I was hungry so he can pick up something for me on his way back. So, let me update as to what happened. The last I've seen of my husband was him driving away, with his cousin's girlfriend following him. He then text messaged me that he was going to go catch up with an old male friend and would text me on the way home. I have no doubts that he probably rented a room to have fun with her, or maybe even went to have a good time in one of the vacant apartments she manages. She manages 3 properties. All a short drive away. I could not get a hold of my girlfriend, so I went back home to the mother-in-law's house. I did have to give her back her car. When I got home, she was already ready for a night on the town. Basically, she went to go get drunk with a bunch of her work's friends. When I pulled up into the driveway, the front door was open and she had keys in hand. I didn't even have to turn off the car. She didn't say a word to me. She was angry because I made her be late. I guess my daughter wasn't even sick. What a grandmother. With all of that happening, I grabbed a handful of our clothes and left. I called my parents, who are currently on vacation, and asked if I could stay. Up until recently, I hadn't spoken to my parents in 2 years because of issues regarding my husband. I realized what an idiot I've been and started communication with them. I was bawling on the phone, thinking they would tell me, well, we told you so. But they didn't and my mom just consoled me. I cried and shook, and finally fell asleep at 4 this morning. I dreamed of my husband and that we were at the movies. I woke up to a much harsher reality. When I checked my phone, there were no calls. Only text messages from him. Obviously, not much concern from him. They began at around 1 a.m. So I'm assuming that's when he finally got in. I woke up in a different mood. My sadness was now anger. Not only at him, but at myself, for giving up things for a man. But that's a longer story. It finally dawned on me that I left with nothing. And if I told my husband what I knew and that I was leaving him, it would take me calling the police to get my stuff. Maybe even have to deal with a screaming mother-in-law. See, when we've fought, my husband has always pointed what he's bought, what is his, and what he's going to keep, even down to my underwear. If I leave now, I'm not getting anything without cops and drama. Something I want to avoid in my condition, however. I've come to a conclusion. I need to leave the smart way and I need to get more proof, mainly to show the cousin. He might be in denial and say they just ran into each other there and were just talking. Or maybe I should just expose with what I have. Yes, I have a video of him kissing her, but the video shows her getting into her car and him leaning down. She has jet black tinted windows, and while we all know what went down, they'll lie and say that he was just talking to her. I need more proof because I want to expose. I want to leave with all of my things, and also some money. If I do it today, it's going to be a battle. I'd rather leaving with nothing be held over my head. And then burn them. I spoke to the husband this morning. He asked why I wasn't at home. I told him I felt lonely, he's been gone, and our relationship hasn't been right and that I needed space. I told him we needed to talk to get things back in order. He said he would go to his family for advice. As of right now, we have a family party to attend later today. I'm going to have to grit my teeth to get through it, and his cousin and his girlfriend. Other woman will be there. I need advice. I'm prepared to leave on Monday or Tuesday while he has long workdays and can get my ducks in a row. How should I game plan this? I'm not one to make haste decisions, but I don't think I'll be able to get over him cheating with his cousin's girlfriend. Who does that? My God, they have children together. What future will they have together? And how confusing for their children, as I mentioned earlier. Their daughter has already implied my husband has visited the cousin's girlfriend while the kids are there. Here is what happened over the weekend. Husband picked me up from my parents' house and was happy to see our daughter. He was apologetic to me and said he wanted to discuss our problems and solve them. Apart from him cheating, I didn't think that we had major problems besides bad spending habits. On the drive to his grandparents' house, he was distant, deep in thought. Maybe he had the other woman in mind. Probably. He even mentions me staying at home and he'll just take our daughter. So I can rest. As someone else mentioned, I'm in the mindset of being an actress. I can't let this blow up until today or Tuesday. To be in the best position to leave. I just can't show my hand. We're there for his grandfather's birthday and the other woman arrives about an hour or two in. She's alone, apparently. She's waiting my husband's cousin, her boyfriend, to arrive from work. She barely says hi to me and acts cordial to my husband. They shake hands, they used to hug, and that's about it. I do catch my husband looking around for someone when she's not around, her. Probably, at one point, not too late in the evening, maybe around 6 p.m. or so, his grandfather gets up to thank everyone for coming to his birthday. He says that his greatest achievement is raising great men. My husband and his brothers were basically raised by their grandfather, a notorious cheater and abuser that everyone talks about, but no one acknowledges enough to have a true discussion. So, he gets up and says the greatest thing in life is to have raised these great men, husband and his brothers, and tells the wife of my husband's oldest brother to agree with him. He says, "Sandy, do you agree I raised a great man that you have there?" And she says yes, and then goes on to say what a wonderful man he is. And then he does this with each brother and their wife. With the wife saying how wonderful her husband is. It was just so strange, and in light of what I just discovered, I'm not happy and not willing to participate. Even my husband's sisters get involved and remind some of the wives of the great things they forgot to mention about the husbands. So now he gets to my husband, and I'm on the verge of tears. I mean, I'm ready to blow it out of the water. And his grandfather asks me, "Did I raise a great man in your husband?" And as I'm ready to just let my husband have it, I look around and see all the eyes of his family are square on me. So I take a breath, try not to cry, and say I'm sorry, need washroom so bad, I'll be right back, and I walk as quickly as I can away from that. I chickened out because I was outnumbered, and then the crap hit the fan. I ran to go check on our daughter who was playing in the house and then went to go pee. Because let us face it, I always have to go. When I opened the door, there was the jerk standing right in front of it. We went to a bedroom. He shut the door and was furious. He said I made him look stupid. I made him look like an idiot. His grandpa is disappointed. If I were a good wife, have waited the 2 seconds and spoke like all of the other wives did. And why did I at least agree with his grandpa that he raised a great man, and on and on and on. So, I'm taking it for a good 2 or 3 minutes until he finally lets up, and I tell him, because he's not a great man and why he's not a great man, and as much as I want to, I don't mention cheating. He interrupts me and says, "I've put up with your crap long enough tonight. I'm taking you home," and I said that's fine, but I'm not leaving without my daughter. Not only do I not want my daughter around the other woman, but they typically party until midnight or 1 in the morning. My daughter is going to be asleep by herself because my husband won't be with her. So, it's a quiet ride home, and I come home and start organizing my things to get ready to leave today. Like everyone else says. I write a list. I'm also thinking about our debts and what's my name on, etc. So, it's a nice night really, just me and my baby. I'm actually calm, because I was so disgusted at what I saw at his grandparents. I don't want to be a part of this family anymore. So, my husband sleeps over at his grandparents, and at least he texts me that. He says he's angry and has been drinking. And it's better for him to sleep it off. Good, fine, more time for me to wash all of my clothes and get ready for today. But I'm also wondering if the cousin ever got there. Right as I'm thinking that, I get a phone call. My husband's other cousin, sister to the cousin that has the GF that my husband is messing around with, calls and is pissed at me. She says my husband and his cousin got into a fight and why didn't I stop him, etc. I was like, wait, what? I explain I wasn't even there at that point. Apparently, husband and his cousin got into a fist fight over a baseball team, with my husband getting crazy angry for nothing and throwing the first punch. As she said that my husband just went off as soon as he got there, talking crap to his cousin, and things led from there. Of course, I'm sure this revolved around his anger watching cousin and his girlfriend, other woman, carry on in front of him. But who can blame her? She has a charade to put forth. So, Sunday he comes home, bruised face and all, and is just angry and short with me. He's home all day but mostly with his mom and our daughter. I so badly want to leave and be by myself, but then that will really tip my hand and I can't have that. So, we barely speak until the end of the night when he tries to have fun with me. He left this morning at 6 a.m. and usually is done with work by 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. So as soon as he left, I already had one eye open. I started organizing my things. After that I jumped in the shower and got ready while my daughter slept and waited for the crazy mother-in-law to leave to work. And as soon as she did, I started packing my car up. Another hour or so, I left. I drove to the bank on a nearly empty tank, took out half of our money. Went to the grocery store to buy some food for the next few days. Visited the bank and the grocery store and opened my own account. Filled up my gas tank and now I'm at my parents'. He has no idea. I took the laptop that we share so I can spend today going over everything, and to get into his cell phone and email account, and I did. I found that he's been text messaging her and emailing her. I now have pics of them together. How nice. At one point, the text messaging and calls abruptly stops to nothing. Then I noticed in his iTunes account that on that same day he downloaded a phone app that gives him another number. I usually check our bank account but ignore when I see iTunes receipts. Now that I see detailed receipts in his iTunes accounts, I see he's been buying minutes on that app. 100 here, 500 there, and the last couple of ones were for 1,000 minutes. Sneaky piece of crap. So, this is the God's honest truth. I just called his cousin, and mind you I'm shaking and nervous because I feel bad for the guy, to expose to him. I tell him why I thought they may be having an affair, what I saw when I followed them, how they acted at the party, and what I found in his email and call records. I told him I would forward him some of the pics. After having spilled the beans, without missing a beat, he said that after I have the baby him and I should hook up to get even with them. No lie, what a family. Oh, she left a voicemail. She acknowledges the affair. She says that she will not stay away from my husband and they want to be together. She says she feels bad for him, having to pretend to want to be with me for the last 2 months. She even apologized for him, saying he probably didn't put on his act right and acted overbearing. She says that isn't going to happen anymore now that they can be together. I'm absolutely disgusted. We went on trips together. There are countless pictures of her and I, and now this is where we are at. I'm going to call a lawyer after a good cry. Seems like the husband beat me to the punch. I phoned his mother and admitted everything, excluded for the fact that I have moved out and where I am now. Same for 2 female cousins that my husband is close to. They all said the same thing, that he was already thinking of leaving me, on set before he picked me up to go to the party. He had told me that he was going to speak to his family for guidance with our marital problems. Apparently, his version of guidance is telling all of them that he's unhappy and thinking of leaving because I'm an unfit mother and very lazy. He says I don't do a thing and questions whether I love him and our little girl. He lied to them and told them that I sleep until 1 in the afternoon and that our child has to go find food for herself. How is that even logical to them? Our little girl can't even open the fridge or anything else since we have everything child-proofed. He's beaten me to the punch. I guess I need to beat him to a lawyer. And now his cousin is texting me non-stop. My husband just sent a long text message, starting with he's requesting me to move out. I only replied with too late. Already done. He reiterated with what the other woman said, or his girlfriend as he calls her now. He's sorry for putting on an act, that he really didn't care less about me, but just wasn't sure of leaving me. He says that this all sealed the deal for him. He wants a quick divorce, because he's thinking of proposing to her. I got a FB message from a relative of his, but she's one of the few normal ones that doesn't bow down to their man. The other women have been confiding in husbands, cousins, relatives, saying that his cousin has been drinking lately and getting violent. The relative that FB me didn't believe her. Seems like my husband's girlfriend was setting up her boyfriend too. Guess this has been in the making. I have an appointment on Thursday with an attorney nearby. Hopefully he'll be decent. I didn't know whether to call a man or a woman attorney, but I just went with one nearby and that didn't have that many bad reviews. They all had bad reviews. Had a conversation with the husband. I really broke down yesterday after all the dust settled and cried my eyes out. My girlfriend had to pick up my daughter so I could be by myself and wallow. Of course, she didn't mind, because she got to play with the friend's son around the same age. From what I gather, this has been going on for at least 5 months or so with this woman. When I was by myself yesterday, I put her up on Cheaterville. I don't know if that was a mistake or not. Maybe I let my anger get the best of me. Spoke to the husband who said she's his soulmate and the love of his life and he didn't want to hurt me, but that I had to accept it and move on. He said I also have to accept that she will be there when we swap our daughter over the weekend. Nice words, jerk. Let's call it an exchange, I thought. Then I realized what he said. Another woman is going to be there too, so he took me off of his Facebook and put that he's in a relationship with her. Mother-in-law loves her and is supportive of her son. Can I vomit now? In the meantime, his cousin's side of the family is threatening him. When I saw that he was in a relationship with her on Facebook. I also saw that many of his family like that status change. Gross. And cheating runs in the family. I deleted and blocked them all on Facebook. My parents get back on Friday. I have a feeling when I see my mom, I'm just going to cry and not manage any words. Oh, and husband told me again that he was sorry to put on the act. He doesn't care about what I do and what happens in the future. He said I didn't have to leave like that during the day when he wasn't here. He said he would have even helped me move. All he wants is to be with his new girlfriend and that he didn't mean to hurt his cousin either. Is it normal to feel like a train ran you over? I'm exhausted and sore. My comment, I assume lawyer told OP to stop updating, but maybe it's better for her. Hope you guys like the recent ones. Sub and bell and back to the next one.